Here in the Bull City and beyond, women are chasing their dreams, defying expectations, and redefining success. Get ready to witness the laughs, tears, struggles, and triumphs because we're sharing it all. I'm your host, Anjali D, and this is Figuring It Out.
My name is TERRI Saliim, and I was born in a small bumpkin town called Packlet, South Carolina. And I moved on to Charlotte, and now I remain in Durham, North Carolina. So growing up for me, I have currently have an older sister. We grew up primarily with my grandparents in Packlet, South Carolina. And my daddy has six other children that I am the oldest of. I am I'm my mother's baby, and I'm my father's oldest. And I had the mom and dad who lived away, and we were with my grandparents in South Carolina. When my parents, my mom and my dad moved to Charlotte, they took me with them. They weren't together. However, they took me with them, and I lived with my mom. And so I had all of my raisins and my learnings primarily in Charlotte, North Carolina, throughout that time. So little Terry growing up was very friendly and a little bit shy, hard to believe, but I was. And I would use being funny or comedic moments to be myself or to come out and to present myself. Little Terry growing up had some hard times being accepted. I think that folk in Packlet would say that Terry was so sweet. She was always funny and she was always around and things like that. Little Terry growing up in South Carolina was, I wasn't quiet, but I was a little bit reserved. I did, so I was that little girl that would go out at 8 o'clock in the morning after I ate my cereal or whatever grandma fixed and watch cartoons or whatever, and I wouldn't come back in until right before the sun come up. Go down. But if I slightly missed it, grandma would be calling me in to tell me to come home. So I was all over Packlet, up and down Jerusalem Road. And so little Terry she wasn't as loud, but she was somewhat reserved in her area. Little Terry perceived the world as just that surrounding area. Spartanburg was, and which is the city, Packlet was the county of Spartanburg. Spartanburg was a big place. It was too big to explore. It was like, ooh, that type of place where you're excited to go. I didn't have a perception of the whole world. I didn't feel that it was unsafe. I felt like everything around me was safe. It was a place where I could be, and it was exciting. It was just that. It was just the world. It didn't have any boundaries or anything. I was just open ended to seeing what it could be about. Not necessarily like in a profession or anything like that, but it was innocence. And it was a place where I could be and just walk around and just look up at the sky and call squirrel. Because that's how aloof I was about anything that I would take a part in. Middle school, I was a follower. It was in middle school. I allowed most of the time my friends to make the decision, and I would follow behind. I was middle ground in middle school. I didn't fall below, nor did I seek to exceed any higher than what I was. Middle school was defining of because of situations that occurred. It was defining of the person that I would become. And middle school was, it wasn't hard, but it brought about a whole recognition that I wasn't aware about in the world. Um, Going from elementary school to the innocence and just walking around aloof, looking at the blue skies and loving it and running around, picking plums from the bushes, eating them right there. Middle school, not so much. I became more aware of my surroundings. I became more, I guess, you could say I became more intentful about my movements. In middle school, I became a little bit more focused, although I allowed my friends, to lead me or to be accepted, because I feel like middle school, that's what it's about, becoming accepted and who you're going to be accepted with and amongst, and what you're getting ready to do, and if somebody likes you. That was a big focus for me in middle school. I liked it because it gave me in middle school a sense of being grown or being older. But middle school opened up a lot of um, different avenues for me. In middle school, I was still in Packlet. I was in Packlet Junior High School. We had junior high schools. That's what they called them, junior high schools. They didn't call them middle schools. So I was at Packlet Junior High School in middle school. I was in South Carolina. I didn't go to North Carolina until high school. I hated coming to North Carolina. I didn't want to go to North Carolina. And I was very, very upset with my parents for making me go to North Carolina. I felt like that it should have been my sister. Because my sister, she was a teenage parent. And before my sister graduated high school, she had two children. And I felt like I was being punished and being made to go to North Carolina because of my sister's mishaps. They were called mishaps then, but they turned out to be beautiful individuals. But because of her choices, I felt like I was being punished for it and being made to go to North Carolina. I hated coming to North Carolina. I hated that. So, and when they made me come to North Carolina, so initially I thought that coming to North Carolina was just going to be a summer thing. I was upset with so with my daddy, when he moved to North Carolina, I was okay with it because it seemed like that's what daddies would do. Like they would move away and you would go visit them. But I was a little upset when my mama moved to North Carolina. Like, why would you move to North Carolina? So I thought that coming to North Carolina was just like a visiting thing during the summers, to see my mom and my daddy. It turned out that I had to move there. So when they told me that I had to move to North Carolina, I started acting out. I wanted to go with older guys. I wanted to try and not pass nothing in the ninth grade. Oh, I tried so hard to flunk out. Ugh. Maybe if I flunk out, they'll send me back to South Carolina. I didn't want to be there. I didn't go out and hang out late or, do anything initially like drugs or getting pregnant or anything like that. However, I just thought that if I flunked out of school real good, real hard, that they would send me back to South Carolina. That didn't work. That didn't work at all. All they did was put me on punishment and told me I can't use the phone. Ugh. So I feel as though I was a follower, as a child because one, I had an older sister who living in South Carolina in the deep woods of South Carolina. you are confronted with a lot of colorism. You're confronted with absent parents. And a lot of us live with a lot of my family live with their grandparents. Grandparents were doing a lot of the raisins. However, we did have friends who had their mothers there. And I had this one friend who had her mom and her dad there. He ended up being murdered sometime when we got a little bit older in elementary school. However, um, I was hiding from my color then, in which is why I feel as though I was following, because I didn't feel like a dark skinned person at that time would necessarily have the lead or be the alpha. Now, my grandma was very dark skinned. She was darker than me, and she was very alpha female. And she presented herself as alpha female. She carried herself as alpha female. She made the decisions. She walked in the whole light of it all. But I felt like her alpha female was just strong and just bearish. And so I feel like I needed to tone it down a lot, a whole lot, so I wouldn't seem as though I was aggressive, or so it wouldn't seem as though I'm always trying to overbear on someone. So I watered myself down a lot as a follower then, so that I'd be accepted. I feel as though I may have been hiding from what was obvious, which was my color, and so that I could be accepted. My sister and I, we're opposites in appearance. She's light skinned, light brown eyes, the light hair. She was a talented, very smart girl. And I, on the other end, was the comedic, laid back. I didn't have to make the choice. The choice can be made for me, and I will follow that, and I would be okay with that. So I felt like I was hiding behind my color in order to be accepted, in which allowed me to be, or I accepted to be a follower. I was a good Robin. Memory that I have from middle school would be some guys taking liberties with me, and it wasn't by choice, and it was defining for me. It exposed me to a lot of adult aspects, and it led me into a different direction. I discovered quickly, very, very fast, that I wasn't a child anymore, that I was growing into be a young adult. And the most profound memory included learning to walk into a different light, and like, oh, this is what happens. This is what actually goes on. So being exposed to different aspects of being an adult was the most profound memory for me. It changed the look of life for me forever, ever. And although those things happened, I still wanted to be in that area. It made me angry. It made me sad at the same time, but it made me extremely angry. I became like a grizzly bear. Yeah. And it overshadows all of the good stuff that happened or that could have happened. But the most profound thing that happened to me when I was in middle school is when I was playing with some friends, and these two guy friends, or two childhood friends. I don't even know if you would call them friends. They were people that I played with. or that were in the neighborhood that raped me. And I just remember the color of the room and just telling them to stop. And it just overtook everything else in my life at the time. And I learned, and I just started, I was on my second bout of having a menstrual cycle. And I can remember saying to them that, no, stop, I'm on my period. I just started my period. Y'all better not do that, And I can remember just saying that and just tugging at their shirt and just telling them to stop. And I remember when the first one got finished, that the second one was like, oh, let me get in there, and I was like, no. And I tried to get up and run. And when they pushed me back down, I fell into something wet on the bed. And then I turned around like, see, now I done messed up the bed. And then when I looked, it was white. And so I thought that I had done something wrong. Like, oh, I done messed up the bed. I don't even know what this was. Turns out it was semen. He had come. And I was like, and the other one was like, just be still. And I was just fighting. And I can just remember fighting for my life. I remember when I was walking back up the road, I saw an older guy who would be around every now and again. And he said, Terry, what you doing out here? It's dark. Miss P, we're going to tear your ass up. And I said, no, she not. And shut up. And then I just took off running. And I got home and I remembered that I had on my sister's jacket. And I had forgotten that I had taken her jacket without asking her, and they broke the zipper. And all I could think about was Kim was going to kill me because I had broke her jacket. I wasn't even thinking about, what just happened to me. I was just thinking about, oh my God, now my sister's going to be mad at me, which ties into me always wanting to be accepted. She's going to be so mad at me. And I can remember just taking her jacket off, because then I got mad at myself because I didn't ask her. And so when I took her jacket off and went and heard up in the bathroom, I heard Grandma saying, Terry, where you been? And then I was like, oh God, now I'm gonna get a whooping, because I wasn't in before it was dark, and it was extremely dark outside. And I just remember just being in the bathroom, just telling Grandma, I'm in the bathroom, I'm getting ready to take a bath, and just sitting in there for the rest of the night. And then I remember like maybe a few months after that, it happened again. We was at a school play, and in South Carolina, in the woods, our bathroom at the junior high school was still outside. And I had to go to the bathroom. And we were at a school play, and I asked one of my friends if she would go with me. And she said, yeah, but let me see this part. And I was like, but I got to really use it. And so I thought that I would take the chance. Well, I went to the door, and as I stepped outside, I saw them, and I just peed in my clothes in middle school. It was terrible. I stood right there, and I still had the doorknob in my hand, and I just pissed. And then I tried to run to the bathroom real fast, and one of them caught me. And right there at the bathroom, he tried to do it again, and I was fighting for my dear life until some of the guys that I went to church with come up and was like, Terry, what you doing? And I was like, nothing. I love running away from something. Because as soon as they saw them and they come, I got up and I took off running. Well, it got back around Packlet that I had let them run a train on me. Imagine that. So when I went to church that next Sunday, I saw one of the boys, and he asked me, you okay? And I was like, yeah, just looking around. And I was looking to see who was going to see him ask me that, because we typically didn't talk. And so when he asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You okay for real?" And I said, "Yeah." And I started crying. And then I left. And so when I looked back, he was still standing there looking at me. And so I just went on. The next thing I remember is my mom and daddy coming saying, "You going to Charlotte. You going to Charlotte with us." And then I remember my mama saying, "Terry, your daddy said he was going to whoop you if you was out here being fast." And I was like, "But I didn't do nothing." And I ran in the house. I love running, Donna. I ran in the house. And then my daddy said, "We're going to come back and get you next week." I didn't get a whipping, nor did he ask me about anything. Neither one of them. They just allowed life to go on. That was the most profound thing. That overtook almost everything, all of my memories from middle school, because I was in the 7th grade when that happened. And in the 8th grade, everything went on without a hitch. I was just a sad little girl throughout the 8th grade, just telling all my friends and my family that I'm going to be moving to Charlotte. And everybody was all excited, like, "You are. And they were so happy. And I was like, "Yeah, I am," until I moved. But that overtook my entire, so 6th grade was in elementary school. So we only had 7th and 8th grade in junior high school. And then we went on to high school in 9th grade. I was 28 years, when I got married, I was 28 years old. I didn't always want to get married. My idea of marriage never worked because I hardly saw the picture or the image or the appearance or marriages. All of the marriages, the majority of the marriages, except for my grandma and my granddaddy, they argued a lot, but they absolutely love one another. The men always cheated or they always did stupid shit. And from my image of what had occurred with me when I was a young girl, marriage wasn't something that I wanted to do because I thought that it would always be a possibility that bad things could occur. But I got married when I was 28 years old. If I didn't get married, I was absolutely fine with that. I was absolutely okay with that. I never set out to be married. I never set out to say, my goal is to get married when I get older. I was never that. I did have friends around me who were setting up their entire life to be married, however, not me. My first job out of college was the Olive Garden. I love the Olive Garden. I started off as a hostess, which I enjoyed, and then ended up being a server. Getting tipped very well. I do understand that some people don't like to tip. However, I did receive very good tips. So my first job was the Olive Garden. And then I went on to work as a preschool teacher at Asbury. So I started working at Olive Garden because I was pregnant. I needed a job. I needed to pay bills, right? And it was, I started working there a little bit before I graduated from Central. And then I moved on to be a preschool teacher because that was my major, child development, at North Carolina Central University. Thank you. Eagle pride. And so I went on to be a preschool teacher, which is why that was a hard jump from the Olive Garden to being a preschool teacher. But that was the reason why. I was looking into getting into my field of my degree. I majored in child development because one, my children, my sister had young children, and I just loved to be around them. I felt like that was going to give me some kind of greatness of being a preschool teacher. And two, I was very interested in young children because of who I said that I was, as being a follower, of being wanted to be accepted in certain areas, and because of what happened to me when I was in middle school, which is what led me into figuring that majoring in child development would be the greatest thing in the world for me, that I could save the children. My view changed after a while from figuring that I could save the children, because you can't. You can't save everybody. Everybody is going to have their own experiences, and based on their own experiences, they're going to learn how to either stand, sit, sink, or swim. And you can be there for them as much as you can. However, everybody is going to have a different story, and everybody is going to have something different to tell or to express or have different experiences. You may be able to be empathetic or relate to whatever it is that they have going on. However, you can't save everybody. And so I had to harden up a little bit with that change, with that switch over. Although I had some great individuals in place for me to help me through different situations, you just can't save everybody. Sometimes you just gotta say, time. Oh well. Okay. It's hard. And child development doesn't necessarily just include taking care of children. It also includes how-tos, how to be amongst different areas, how to transition, how to translate, how to be a part of. And I had to learn that it wasn't all about just being a preschool damn teacher. So what I do with myself once I take the cape off is when I realized there was a lot more than just that. Instead of trying to be, I didn't have to be primarily the saver. I could help, and being intentful about my help and being there wholeheartedly. I don't know if I necessarily took the cape off, or to say that now I'm exposed to these different things. Now I'm going to move about differently. Although I did, it still included the whole idea of helping or being there for someone, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily took the cape off. Come to think of it. I still had that whole aspect of wanting to save, or wanting to be helpful, not necessarily being accepted. Fuck that. Because I don't have to be accepted, and a friend taught me, or I saw that in some of my friends in Charlotte when I moved to North Carolina, because being in North Carolina was a hard switch off from being in South Carolina. They live differently than what they did in South Carolina. It's hard to explain that. However, they live differently. So, in realizing that I couldn't save all of the children, I just accepted that. I just accepted that. I mean, just hands down, I just accepted that, and that's the way it was. I don't think that it was necessarily a hard reality to see, like, oh, I can't save them all, because I knew that in me that I couldn't save them all. However, I just accepted it and just went on. Um, the ones that could receive what was being given, then they would take it. The ones that couldn't, then they just learned or got it from different places, different areas. It is what it is with that, you know. So I made the decision to go to college, okay, because in Charlotte, when I went to Charlotte, right, I not only rebelled with trying to flunk out of school real hard. Also, I got sticky fingers, and I love to steal shit. So, and I had a friend who liked to steal shit too. So she showed me how to steal shit and how to get other people to steal shit. And so we got a job. We worked at Eckerd's, right? And at Eckerd's and Target, we worked at Target too, because after we worked at Eckerd's, where we told a friend to come in and we give them a hookup, and y'all take this with you and we'll meet y'all after this. We got arrested. We got our asses slap in jail. And so from there, I didn't learn. I went on to Target to get a job, to give more hookups, to get arrested again. Okay. So I was on probation. And one of the very first friend that I got when I come to Charlotte, who encouraged me, like, let's do it. You here, now, and welcome to Hardin High School. I'm going to be your friend. She exposed me to church, and not exposed me to church because I already went to church almost every Sunday. However, she was that friend. She was a very good friend. After I got on probation, I was really down on my luck. Well, through high school, I was in JROTC because my mama said that I need to be in something that was going to give me some kind of discipline. And I was bound and determined that I was going to go to the Army, because being in JROTC, you wouldn't go in as a PFC, you would go in as a private, right? And so I'd be able to tell somebody what to do. And I started, feeling good about myself because I had a platoon, right? And so I was bound and determined that I was going to go to the Army. Well, when I got on probation, all of those dreams started setting to the side, right? I never thought about going to school. Never thought about going to school at all. School was not in the cards. She came around, floated like a little angel in a long white dress, and came around and said, "Terry, why don't you just apply just to see if the schools would take you?" Well, I ended up getting accepted in a few schools. And because I had friends, and this particular friend who was going to North Carolina Central, I decided to try school. Well, my probation officer said that's not going to work because your school is in Durham County and we're in Mecklenburg County and you're on probation. So I begged, and she said, well, let's see how you complete your community service and if you will pay your restitution fees. I was like, dang. So I paid them because I worked, and I completed the community service. She contacted Durham County, and Durham County said, sure, we'll take her. And so I was like, yes. So that's how I got to North Carolina Central. That's how I got to Durham, North Carolina, because one of my friends encouraged me to apply to North Carolina Central University. I got accepted, and they took the gamble on me. They took the chance. And I was like, well, since they're gambling, I'm going to go ahead with this die. And I'm going. So I got to North Carolina Central by the encouragement of a friend while on probation. And this is where I am. This bumpkin country ass town. high school turned out to be somewhat of the bomb. I started running. I ran track. I ran cross country. I was the manager of the wrestling team. I started seeing my potential and what my boundaries were, what my exposures were. Started coming into myself and realizing that I was a young person who was actually kind of cute, beautiful, that could do this. And I started excelling in track, and which made me feel very good. I started selling in JROTC, which made me feel very good. I got a lot of friends and a lot of people around me that I really wasn't expecting, nor did I seek out, for acceptance. I figured out like I don't have to seek out acceptance. I can just be myself. I can be mad some days. I can be sad some days. I can be happy some days. I ended up getting senior superlative of the most friendliest. Who would have thought that I would get that? But I got the most friendliest. High school was a time of learning myself, of coming into myself, of being who I actually was, of just being Terry. It was fun. It was fun. I took chances in high school. I stepped outside the arena. High school was fun. So when I got on probation too, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I'm on probation. I don't know what to do. It seemed like at the time my life was just at a standstill. I felt so empty and so null and voided. Although I was the one, and it was exciting and exhilarating, and it was kind of like a control thing, ringing up all of these purchases and giving hookups here and there. And it's like I had control of stuff that gave me a sense of control, being able to make that decision. When I got on probation and this person told me, because I was so intentful on rebelling, whether I knew at the time or whatever I was doing or participating in, this is rebellion or not. I felt like she was taking that control from me because she started telling me, you're going to have to report. You're going to have to come over here and see me. To begin with, for the first 2 months, once a week. I'm like, bitch, what? Once a week? I felt so deflated because I had built up this control in myself. I was running track. I was in JROTC. I was, because I was one of the best triple jumpers. Listen, glorifying high school days, one of the best triple jumpers that Hardin High School had. And so I was the best, as a matter of fact, that they had at the time. So I felt like I was in control of things. I had me a little part-time job at McDonald's, before Eckert's. And I was with friends without calling for acceptance, right? So when she told me that I had to report to her every week for the first couple of months, I felt like somebody was taking a control from me again, because coming from middle school and something taken from you that you didn't even know that you had as a girl. Like, I didn't know I had control over my body, and that I had control over my vaginal walls, and that I could say yes and no. That wasn't even something that I was interested in, because I was a virgin. And so not knowing that you had control over this, of course you didn't. Your people would tell you, go take a bath, and be like, now, you'd be mad at that. And so I didn't even know that I had control over something that had been taken from me. So I falsely built up a control in high school where I felt like I can call my shots, you know. Um, so her taking back something, and even with staying with my mama, you know, and I didn't walk around the house, you know, pointing my finger at my mama's forehead. I definitely acted like I had some sense, and I definitely respected my mama in her house. I didn't go around doing like outland. Well, so I did stay out sometimes, but in the house I wasn't disrespectful or anything. But this probation officer who was supposedly there to help rehabilitate me as a young person, um, seemed like she wanted to be in control of my life. And so when she said this, I of course had to conform, and say, all right, because I didn't want to be a part of this, but I had to because of the choice that I had made. Um, I was pissed every day, on top of feeling null and empty on the inside. I was pissed again, all over again. And at the time I hadn't talked about anything that had happened to me in South Carolina, nor had I received any kind of therapeutic services. I was therapying myself through it, you know, like by forgetting it. And so when it came time that I wanted to introduce to her and what my ideas of proceeding on with my life, and her saying, no, we can't do that, I really wanted to choke that bitch. I wanted to say, this is my life. I'm in control of this. I got this, bitch, not you. But I couldn't. All I could say was, why? That's all I could say. Why can't I? That's exactly what I said. And so when she explained to me, this is Mecklenburg County, that's Durham County, I was frustrated with that. Because nor did I necessarily think about proximity, area, space, that it was 2 hours away. And nor had I been to Durham. I had never been to Durham. I hadn't even never been or visited North Carolina Central University. So for her to say no, I wanted to say, you don't even know what it's like. You ain't even been there yourself. I wanted to tell her all the reasons why she didn't, as opposed to me not even having an idea of what I was getting myself into. But because it was something that I had set my mind to, that I wanted to be a part of, that she was saying no to, because of her job, you know. So I was frustrated with her saying no, I couldn't do that, and I couldn't understand why. You know, if I was building myself up to be this person or to become this person, or I'm okay with who I'm becoming, I don't understand why you putting limitations and boundaries on it and saying no. So when I moved to North Carolina, when my parents moved me to North Carolina too, so I moved from the oven to the frying pan. Although high school was great, I did have this stepdad who was touchy-feely drunk. And so although high school, I learned to come into myself. I learned who I was. I started exposing myself to different areas, different things. He was there. He paid the bills. He worked 5 days a week without being drunk. On the weekends, he just turned into a sexual drunk. I had this teacher in high school, home economics. She was she was a pretty black woman. She talked soft. She could cook. She could sew. She could discipline you without raising her voice. She could also be a comrade for you, friendly to you, but would give you a bad grade all at the same time and explain to you why. And you would come out with the bad grade and feel like you passed still. You would still feel like you were on the honor roll because of how she explained to you why she gave you the bad grade. I learned from her that, and I didn't learn it from my mama necessarily then because I didn't share all of those things with her, nor did I share it with this teacher. But it was an introduction from her on good Black women in your life, and with them explaining to you, you fucking up, but I know why you fucking up, and I'm gonna help you not fuck up no more. Okay, but you're gonna wear this fuck up that you just brought on yourself. But moving forward, this is how we're going to deal with this. And it may be other times that you'll fuck up again. However, this is what we'll do. Right? So when I got to North Carolina Central, she was a moving point for me as well with my major in child development. Child development fell under the major of home economics. And when I found out that Central had the major of home economics, it was just endearing to me because it made me think about this teacher. And so I said, I definitely want to be a part of that because the way that she introduced this to me, I definitely want to be that. And so the home economics department had a slew of educated Black women. Oh my God, I love those women. Those women surrounded me and they just took me under their wing and they showed me everything. They knew when I was slipping and they knew when to come and tell me, Terry, you're slipping. And even though I'd be like, no, I'm not, I'm fine. They'd be like, yeah, you are. They surrounded me like angels. There was an angel that introduced me to North Carolina Central and then released me to the hands of these women. She didn't take me over there, literally take me there. I chose what it was that I wanted to do. However, when I got there, those women surrounded me, and that's when I realized, oh, there's good people in the world. I knew before then that there were good people in the world, but it was overshadowed a little bit by nasty old men, nasty little boys, disgust, competition, aggression, and I felt like I had to bust out of anger. But these group of women let me know that that's a human trait. It's okay to be angry because of some things that happen or things that will happen, or things that you are faced with. It's all about how you deal with it and how you come out, and what you continue your journey to be. What I learned about myself too is that I'll sideswipe somebody else getting in trouble. Like if it's like even to something of that detriment of those two boys. So in my sessions, in my therapeutic sessions, right? That question was raised. Like, did you ever tell anybody about what happened to you? Did you ever say anything to your parents or anything? Did you talk to a friend? Did you go, did you see a pastor or anybody? No, I did not. So in my childhood, when with the rapist, um, because of the town that I lived in, and because it got back to me that it seemed that I let them run a train on me, meaning that I let multiple boys have sex with me, um, not at the same time, but within the same setting. Um, I wanted it to go away at that time. I didn't want to deal with it. I just wanted it to go away. And I figured that if I didn't talk about it, that it would just die down. And nor did I want to raise any more attention to it because it was embarrassing. Um, I wanted them to get in trouble. I wanted something to happen to them, like die, like right then, right there, but like, oh, thank you, Lord, they died. Um, but I didn't say anything. I didn't report it. I didn't call the police. Um, because of me being out of place at the time, and I should have been in a different place, is the reason why I guess I didn't report it. My cousin had dropped me off with these two, in particular, she had dropped me off, and they were actually walking up the road. And I had stopped before going in the house. The house where I lived was maybe 10 steps away. But I had stopped and I had talked to them. And then little did I know that they were manipulating it. And we started walking back down the road from where I come from. And I allowed that to happen, for me to be walked back down the road, and we was just talking and playing, talking about what the games that we had just played or whatever. My stepdad, I only called for repercussion for him after a while to my mom. And because of how it was handled, and I didn't include that my cousin was, he was also touching my cousin. And because she told family members about it, my mama and my grandma didn't believe her. Or from what I heard, they didn't believe her. And she was older than me. She was in her 20s at the time. And because they didn't believe her, I certainly wasn't going to tell and say anything and put myself out there, with these two incidents, three actually, and have them not believe me and have them wondering if I was okay. Like, is she okay? Because why would she say that about him? And I knew it to be true because he was doing it to me too. And I guess throughout all of those situations, at the beginning, I would sideswipe it. I would just hope that those incidents would just go away, with handling those difficult times, or expressing what had happened. I would just hope they would go away. And I eventually came about to confront it, within my therapeutic sessions. I come to confront those. I wasn't able to confront the PO, like, why'd you say no? Because it actually did happen. I actually was able to go on and move to Durham County and go on through with that part of my life. But I had to confront them, and talk about what happened. So I invited them to be a part of the session. My stepdad, it didn't happen so easy, because when I looked, when the way he looked at me in such a sexual manner, I was like, no, fuck you. I don't even want to talk to you ever again. I don't care if I don't think that you'll get it. I don't think that you'll understand it. I don't think that you even hear that what you did was wrong. And come to think of it, I don't even know if you would remember it. And I don't even have to have any interaction with you ever again. Ever. But I never contacted the authorities. I never told my parents about it until I got older. But I did confront one of the guys that raped me. Survival is based upon the person too. Like, are you still living? And then if you're still living, what is living? Are you just a physical being walking around, or do you have an uplifting in your spirit? Is your soul alive? Because the survival can be, well, nigga, I'm here. I'm walking around. I woke up this morning. I survived. Or are you living? Do you have the potential to say, this is what I want to have as a part of my life? This is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. This happened. This made me how I am, or this happened. This is what I'm not going to be, Surviving is subjective to the individual. North Carolina Central took a gamble on me. They took a chance and I had to take the ACT and the SAT. I did apply to Barber Scotia. I got in at North Carolina A&T, but the people that were going to North Carolina A&T, I hung with them in high school. However, not as much as I hung with Janice. And so she was going to North Carolina Central University. So that's where I was going. I set my foot in. And when I got the letter, I just cried because I could not believe that a university, because Barber Scotia was a college. It was the small college in Concord, And at the time, unbeknownst to a lot of us, Barber Scotia's accreditation was in an uproar. They hadn't lost it yet. It was just in an uproar. And so they had to accept a whole bunch of people, and for North Carolina Central, a place where I knew people that were academically sound were going, I was like, oh my God, it really set into me I can do this. I can go to school, because that wasn't my thing. School definitely wasn't my thing. I was definitely more of a physical person. So the Army was definitely a place where I had set out to go. But North Carolina Central took that gamble on me. They gave me a chance. They presented an opportunity for me. And when I got there and just saw all those Black people. So in the town that I grew up in, it was white, Black, Indian people all around. Of course, I was around all the predominantly Black people. So around predominantly Black people. And in Charlotte, I lived on the west side, which was definitely the Black side of town. But when I got to North Carolina Central, and all of the students, even all of the instructors were Black. And I was like, this is a Mecca. And I was really, really excited about that. And it was an opportunity to move away from home. It was an opportunity to begin again. It was a restart because I wasn't in South Carolina amongst the nasty little boys. And I wasn't in Charlotte, which also presented as somewhat of a new beginning and an exposure. However, with Central, it was just going to be me. And I had to make this work. I had to do it. The first year, my freshman year, was definitely a struggle. I had easy classes. And however, I discovered that you don't have to go to class every day. And I definitely took advantage of that. And I definitely took advantage of hanging out and making my own decisions. I discovered soon thereafter, once I got into my major, that I had to discipline myself and that I had to do this myself, that it was all on me for me to do this if I wanted to be able to do it. And so it gave me the opportunity to set in on myself, on something that I could do for myself, and to see it through and for it to be something that was positive. I I met positive people. I started surrounding myself with more positive like people because everybody was there for the same reason. So I thought to get your education, to graduate, to get your degree. Um, but North Carolina Central gave me an opportunity. They took the chance on me, and um, I'll always, I'll always big up that. I wasn't the best student, but I learned a lot. That's it. That's my mantra while I was there. I'm not the best student, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot, a whole lot. And it may not have been just in academics, it was a whole wholesome learning experience. And North Carolina Central presented that to me. The HBCU experience provided that. Like, oh, it's more of them out there that do this. So I know it's not just me that walk around like this, or that have accepted this opportunity. But that's what it was. And that's why I have a bit of pride when it comes to North Carolina Central University. My biggest failure, there are things professionally that pop in mind. There are things personally that pop in mind. There are things that I think about in my marriage that pop in mind. I don't know if one outweighs the other as being the biggest, because I'm still growing. And what I learned is like, oh, I'm still not an adult quite yet. Maybe in age on paper, but there are some things that I'm still, learning. I'm growing up with right now. I'm adulting, but I'm not sure if I'm all the way an adult yet. Still got to grow up some a little. I wish that in some of the ways professionally, I don't know if that would be a failure, but I wish that I could have saved some of the companies that I work for, that I was invited into to be a certain person or to serve in a certain role. I wish that I had I wish that I had more stand-up-ness. I'm going to make that word go, right? I wish that I would have been able to say it with my chest a little more firmly, not louder because I'm naturally loud, but just more firmly with my chest. I guess with all of them, I wish that whether it's professional, personal, or within my marriage, that I would have been able to say some things. But my marriage is still going on, so I'm still growing in that still. But I wish that I would have been able to say it more firmly. Like if I would have been able to say, hey, this happened to me. Yes, it did. And to stand firm on it and to follow through with it. If I had to, that would be my biggest failure, with not having the ability to say it more firmly with what I have to say. My biggest failure that I should have looked at and said, I saw that coming, damn, was when I got fired right along with the group. They told us that we would be called back once the investigation is completed. However, I should have known then that that was a termination in this company that I worked with a guy who I still have in high regard. I hold in high regard. They thought that he was a part of something, that he was being inappropriate in his role. He was it's gonna sound corny, but see my family grow. We come from a small family. My grandma only had my mama, and then my mama only had me and my sister. Although I have brothers and sisters by my daddy, we're like a small family. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them grow. The longevity of life and being humble in spirit and the joy of it, of seeing that come about, the wholesomeness of it, and breaking all of those barriers that we had and being different from that. I'm looking forward to, I used to say to my children when they were younger, I'm so excited about your life. I would say to their friends and to my friends' children, I'm so excited about your life. It's just almost endless. It's so much that you can do. And I'm excited that I'm here with you to do it and to see it and to experience it. I don't want to be in the way, but I want to be a part of it. I'm not going to stand up and be like, follow me, but I want to be a part of it. So my grandchildren initially came about as a fluke. It's like, because my daughter is a teenage parent. She had a child. When I think about Naomi, Kamari, and True, I just think about life, period, the extension of, the experience of. When I think about them, anytime I think about them, it's so joyful. I love those little people so much. Oh, they bring me to tears because I just love those little people.